The article entitled is Prohibition of Riba in Islam and Overview from the Quran and Hadith. This article was written by Baba Gana Isa, Dr. Ababuba and Dr. Lisman Ali, and it was published in July 2022 in the Majalat Al-Dirasa Al-Arabiyyah wal-Islamiyah, which is also known as the Journal of Arabic and Islamic Studies. The article focused on the concept of riba or interest and discuss its prohibition in Islam based on evidence from both the Quran and Hadith. Riba overview. Riba or interest or usury has existed since before the arrival of Islam and was a common practice in ancient society. Islam strictly prohibits all forms of riba because it leads to exploitation, injustice, and social inequality. The Quran clearly condemns riba and warns that those who deal with it at war with Allah and His Messenger. This is mentioned in Surah Al-Baqarah, verses 278 to 279, which states, "O who believe, give up what remains due to you from riba. If you do not, then be warned of a war from Allah and His Messenger." Furthermore, the hadith of Prophet Muhammad lists a riba as one of the 7 major sins in Islam. Riba also contradicts the fundamental principles of Islamic economic, such as justice, sharing, and mutual consent. In today's world, where is interest-based financial system dominate, it is crucial for Muslims to understand the concept of riba and its harmful effect. Ultimately, the prohibition of riba is a foundational element in the development of an ethical and Sharia compliant Islamic financial system.
The summary of methodology. The article adopts a qualitative doctrinal research approach based on textual analysis of primary Islamic sources, mainly the Quran and Hadith, as well as classical and contemporary scholarly works. The authors interpret the evolution of Islamic injunction on riba, analyze the juristic classification of riba, and draw application from both scriptural and legal perspective.
Next, key point and findings. Linguistically, riba means increase, addition or excess. In Islamic jurisprudence, it refers to any guaranteed interest on loan money even without consideration of equivalent compensation. This is strictly prohibited in Islam as it leads to unfair gain. There are 2 major types of riba. Riba an-Nasiyah, which is the interest on loans and is the most common and explicit form. Riba al-Fad, which refers to an excess in barter exchanges of similar commodities. The prohibition of riba in the Quran was introduced in stage, and the strongest prohibition appears in Surah Al-Baqarah. It is so serious that riba is considered as a declaration of war against Allah and His Messenger if people continue practicing it despite the warnings. The focus is on fairness, compassion and charity, especially in lending. Numerous hadiths also prohibit both types of riba. Prophet Muhammad emphasized fairness and equality in transactions, whether in barter or money. The main reason behind banning riba is to eliminate exploitation and promote socio-economic justice. Islam encourages fairness in economic transaction. Lenders should not profit without risk while borrowers bear all the burden. This leads to an ethical finance system where profit and loss sharing, charity and entrepreneurship are encouraged. Lastly, riba is not just an economic concern but a moral and ethical issue. Islamic finance discourages any investment in harmful industries like alcohol, tobacco or gambling. The Islamic economic model is based on equity, transparency and communal welfare, making it a holistic and responsible financial system.
For the conclusion, the prohibition of riba is absolute and unequivocal in Islam, derived from Quranic commands, prophetic traditions, and juridical consensus. Riba is considered a form of economic injustice and its Its elimination is central to the Islamic financial system. The article emphasized the need to understand Islamic finance not merely as interest-free, but as a comprehensive ethical alternative to conventional economic models based on exploitation. Lastly, modern interpretations or justification for interest are seen as inconsistent with Islamic values.
First, the article is well supported by strong evidence. It refers directly to clear verses from the Quran and authentic hadith, showing that the prohibition of riba is firmly grounded in Islamic teaching. Second, the article provides a clear explanation of the concept of riba. It defines riba, explains its two main types, riba an-nasiyah and riba al-fad, and discuss related principles such as gara and maisir. Third, the article takes a logical and historical approach. It explains how the prohibition of riba was revealed gradually and highlight the rationale behind it, such as promoting justice and preventing exploitation.
First, the article is not related to the current financial situation. The writing focuses more on the prohibition of usury from the perspective of Quranic verses and hadith alone, without showing how this prohibition is applied into the Islamic finances system, such as in Islamic banking, sukuk, and or modern sales contract. This makes the content of the article somewhat disconnected from current reality. Second, the article fails to link the aspect of maqasid syariah in the discussion of the prohibition of riba. The author did not explain in deeply how the prohibition of riba actually contributes to social justice, economic welfare, and community protection, which are among the main objectives of Sharia. Without this element, the writing fails to demonstrate the value and wisdom behind the prohibition. And the last one, the article does not include any case studies to show how the prohibition of usury is practiced in the real world. No example or practical illustration were provided on how Islamic financial institutions implement the interest-free principle in their operation. This made the article purely theoretical and difficult to relate to actual practice in the Islamic finance industry. First, logical assessment and argument. This article states that usury is a form of oppression, and this is in line with the principle of justice in Islam. However, the author does not delve deeply into the economic or social impact of usury in the context of modern society. Furthermore, no practical examples are provided to show how the prohibition of usury affects the real world. Therefore, the argument presented seems disconnected from current reality, as it is not directly related to contemporary situation or financial practices such as those in Islamic banking institutions. The next one is absence of other perspective. This article also does not refer to the view of other schools of thought or contemporary ijtihad, resulting in a discussion that is less balanced and somewhat biased. The next one is absence of other perspective. This article also does not refer to the view of other schools of thought or contemporary ijtihad, resulting in a discussion that is less balanced and somewhat biased. The author does not compare the view of contemporary school or sources of just produced from various schools of thought that may have differing understanding of the issue of usury. This shortcoming limits the reader's understanding of the breadth of scholars' view, whereas the issue of riba is complex topic with much room of ijtihad.
Moving forward, this article highlights several promising directions for future research in the field of Islamic finance. First, there is a strong need for a comparative study between traditional interest-based financial systems and the Islamic prohibition of riba. Such a study could provide deeper insights into how these two systems impact economic justice and financial equity. Secondly, researchers may explore the social and economic effects of banning usury. This includes evaluating how riba-free systems affect investment behavior, economic stability, and overall societal well-being. Another exciting direction involves technology. With the rise of digital platforms, smart contracts, and blockchain, it is now possible to explore how these innovations can help prevent usury in modern financial transactions. Research in this area could bridge Islamic principles with contemporary financial practice. Lastly, we encourage future research to examine how Islamic countries develop and implement economic policies without relying on interest. Understanding their strategies, tools, and fiscal frameworks can provide valuable lessons for both Islamic and non-Islamic nations seeking fairer economic models. In conclusion, these directions not only contribute to academic scholarship but also support the development of a more ethical and inclusive global financial system. This article highlights several promising directions for future research in the field of Islamic finance. First, there is a strong need for a comparative study between traditional interest-based financial systems and the Islamic prohibition of riba. Such a study could provide deeper insights into how these two systems impact economic justice and financial equity. Secondly, researchers may explore the social and economic effects of banning usury. This includes evaluating how riba-free systems affect investment behavior, economic stability, and overall societal well-being. Another exciting direction involves technology. With the rise of digital platforms, smart contracts, and blockchain, it is now possible to explore how these innovations can help prevent usury in modern financial transactions.
The importance of research on the prohibition of riba in Islam, especially in the context of Islamic economics. This research plays a vital role in strengthening theoretical foundation and has significant implication for practical implementation. First, importance of research for theory. First point is strengthening the theory of Islamic economic, like assist in explaining the concept of riba more clearly, for example, by introducing the types of riba. The second point is contribution to the development of fiqh knowledge, such as strengthening in fundamental theories in Islamic economy, particularly regarding the prohibition of riba, like riba al-nasiyah and riba al-fadl. And the last one is explaining the concept of riba, with combining evidence from the Quran and Hadith, as well as opinion from scholars. Next, implication of research for practice. First point is guidance for Islamic financial institution, like providing special guidance for implementing a system free from riba, Second point is fundamental of financial policy, used as the basis for financial policies in Islamic countries to formulate Sharia, compliant banking and investment system. And the last one is education and public awareness, used as material for education in Islamic economics and Muamalat jurisprudence.
Islam strictly prohibits riba interest because it leads to injustice, exploitation, and economic imbalance. This prohibition comes directly from the Quran, Hadith, and scholarly consensus, making it a core part of Islamic financial teachings. Riba allows one side to gain without risk while the other suffers, which goes against Islamic values of fairness, mercy, and social welfare. Islamic finance is not just about avoiding interest, it promotes a system based on ethical trade, risk sharing, and community care. In today's interest based world, understanding this helps Muslims make Sharia compliant choices and build a more just and balanced economy.